Chapter 1, Section 2 of the Greek View of Life by Goldsworthy Lowes Dickinson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Martin Geeson. Chapter 1, Section 2 Greek Religion, an Interpretation of Nature. When we try to conceive the state of mind of primitive man, the first thing that occurs to us is the bewilderment and terror he must have felt in the presence of the powers of nature. Naked, houseless, weaponless, he is at the mercy every hour of this immense and incalculable something, so alien and so hostile to himself. As fire, it burns; as water, it drowns; as tempest, it harries and destroys. Benignant it may be at times, in warm sunshine and calm, but the kindness is brief and treacherous. Anyhow, whatever its mood, it has to be met and dealt with. By its help, or if not in the teeth of its resistance, every step in advance must be won. Every hour, every minute, it is there to be reckoned with. What is it then, this persistent, obscure, unnameable thing? What is it? The question haunts the mind; it will not be put aside, and the Greek at last, like other men under similar conditions, only with a lucidity and precision peculiar to himself, makes the reply, "It is something like myself." Every power of nature he presumes to be a spiritual being, impersonating the sky as Zeus, the earth as Demeter, the sea as Poseidon. From generation to generation, under his shaping hands, the figures multiply and define themselves. Character and story crystallise about what at first were little more than names, till at last, from the womb of the dark enigma that haunted him in the beginning, there emerges into the charmed light of a world of ideal grace a pantheon of fair and concrete personalities. Nature has become a company of spirits. Every cave and fountain is haunted by a nymph. In the ocean dwell the Nereids; in the mountain the Oread; the Dryad in the wood; and everywhere, in groves and marshes, on the pastures or the rocky heights, floating in the current of the streams, or traversing untrodden snows, in the day at the chase, and as evening closes, in solitude fingering his flute, seen and heard by shepherds, alone or with his dancing train, is to be met the horned and goat-footed, the sunny smiling Pan. Thus conceived, the world has become less terrible, because more familiar. All that was incomprehensible, all that was obscure and dark, has now been seized and bodied forth in form, so that everywhere man is confronted no longer with blind and unintelligible force, but with spiritual beings moved by like passions with himself. The gods, it is true, were capricious and often hostile to his good, but at least they had a nature akin to his. If they were angry, they might be propitiated. If they were jealous, they might be appeased. The enmity of one might be compensated by the friendship of another. Dealings with them, after all, were not so unlike dealings with men, and at the worst there was always a chance for courage, patience, and wit. Man, in short, by his religion, has been made at home in the world, and that is the first point to seize upon. To drive it home, let us take an illustration from the story of Odysseus. Odysseus, it will be remembered, after the sack of Troy, for 10 years was a wanderer on the seas, by tempest, enchantment, and every kind of danger, detained, as it seemed, beyond hope of return, from the wife and home he had left in Ithaca. The situation is forlorn enough, yet somehow or other beauty in the story predominates over terror, and this, in part at least, because the powers with which Odysseus has to do are not mere forces of nature, blind and indifferent, but spiritual beings who take an interest, for or against, in his fate. The whole story becomes familiar, and, if one may say so, comfortable, by the fact that it is conducted under the control and direction of the gods. Listen, for example, to the Homeric account of the onset of a storm, and observe how it sets one at ease with the elements. Now the Lord, the shaker of the earth, on his way from the Ethiopians, espied Odysseus afar off from the mountains of the Solymi. Even thence he saw him as he sailed over the deep, and he was yet more angered in spirit, and wagging his head, he communed with his own heart. Lo now, it must be that the gods at the last have changed their purpose concerning Odysseus, while I was away among the Ethiopians. And now he is nigh to the Phaeacian land, where it is so ordained that he escape the great issues of the woe which hath come upon him. But methinks that even yet I will drive him far enough in the path of suffering. With that he gathered the clouds and troubled the waters of the deep, grasping his trident in his hands, and he roused all storms of all manner of winds, and shrouded in clouds the land and sea, and down sped night from heaven. The east wind and the south wind clashed, and the stormy west and the north that is born in the bright air, rolling onward a great wave. The position of the hero is terrible, it is true, but not with the terror of despair. For as it is a god that wrecked him, it may also be a god that will save. If Poseidon is his enemy, Athene, he knows, is his friend. And all lies, after all, in the hands, or as the Greeks said, on the knees, not of a blind destiny, but of beings accessible to prayer. Let us take another passage from Homer to illustrate the same point. It is the place where Achilles is endeavouring to light the funeral pyre of Patroclus. But because there is no wind, the fire will not catch. What is he to do? What can he do? Nothing, say we, but wait till the wind comes. But to the Greek, The winds are persons, not